my friends, it's Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time watching one of my videos, welcome. Thanks so much for joining me today. For today's video, we are going to be writing up my budget for the first paycheck in June. I always love the first paycheck bill tracker of the new month. Every time a new month starts, it's like a whole new beginning. I'm all about new beginnings, fresh starts, so I am excited. You did not see a video from me on my final paycheck in May doing like the budget results where I kind of wrap everything up and look at the actual amounts versus what I budgeted. The reason for that is I just got a little overwhelmed with all of the other videos I needed to film. That kind of end of the month slash beginning of the next month is a little bit tricky in terms of filming because I'm trying to wrap everything up for the 1 month but also setting everything up for the new month, and it's just a lot of content to film, and so I ended up just doing the budget results off camera on my own. It was pretty straightforward. Everything went as planned. The end of the month is usually pretty uneventful. So I did not film that for you, but I'm here today with my first paycheck in June. The paycheck date is June 1st, which is great. And we are just going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to fold this in half. If you're not familiar with my setup, I use the Budget Mom Budget by Paycheck Workbook printables. I really like this paycheck bill tracker for breaking down my budget every week. It works out really great for me. I just print it out on 28-pound paper, punch it using an arc punch in order to get it here into my budget planner, which is an 8.5 by 11 size. So that's the big size Happy Planner system. I have the metal Happy Planner discs, and the other kind of aspect of my budget planner is my monthly calendar, which is actually from Erin Condren. It's the Erin Condren monthly planner. I just uncoiled and punched that and put it in here as well so I could have a super great system that works out really well for me. Super customizable, which I like. So, enough yammering. Let's zoom in a little bit and just start breaking down this budget. I don't talk about income here on my channel because that's just something I choose to keep private, but a little bit about me and my situation. I am a stay-at-home mom to 2 teenage boys. Actually, one of those teenage boys is now a man. He turned 18 in January, but he is still living at home. He works full-time and kind of takes care of himself. So that's that. Our income primarily comes from my husband, who works full-time in the plumbing industry as a sewer and drain cleaner. So that is like our main income, but I also bring in a little tiny bit of income every month here from my YouTube channel, and we use all of that income combined to tackle our expenses, pay our bills, and we're working on paying off our credit card debt. So we started out our journey back in 2020 with, oh my god, there's a spider. Okay, give me just a second. I gotta go dispose of a spider. Oh, I just caught that out of the corner of my eye. Gross. Okay, you guys, so I totally just lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was saying. I saw a spider out of the corner of my eye, and I went, grabbed a little wad of toilet paper, smashed it, or I thought I smashed it, but when I picked up the toilet paper, the spider was not there, and I just searched for like 10 minutes trying to figure out where the hell the spider went. I couldn't find it, so now I'm praying it's not like crawling on me or something. It was a really big, like, brown, gross, furry spider, and I'm not really afraid of spiders, but I'm convinced that he's like hiding somewhere seeking revenge, waiting to pounce on me. So there's that. That explains why I cannot remember what I was saying, because that was like a 10-minute spider search. Oh, and now I've got creepy crawlies. Okay, let's just get started with this budget. We're going to talk about the bills, my cash that I'm going to pull out of the bank, our sinking funds, a little bit of everything while I watch out of the corner of my eye for this spider. So I apologize if I'm a little bit distracted. Okay, so for bills this week, I set up my calendar with my bills. I have already been tracking expenses and paying things. I'm actually filming this on Thursday the 3rd, so I'm a little bit behind. I did write out my little like rough draft budget. That's what I'm referencing here, so let's just get this going. I know this video is all over the place. I should restart it, but I don't want to sit at my desk too long in case the spider comes back. So let's just get going. So we're going to start out with the bills. And the first bill we are going to pay that's due this week is our lot rent. My husband and I own our mobile home free and clear. We paid it off last spring, but we do not own the lot that it sits on. We are in a mobile home community, also known as a trailer park, and so we have to pay rent every single month for that. It's not an ideal situation. I hope someday to own my own land and my own home. Don't get me wrong, I love my little mobile home, but it's not our forever home by any means, but it's working out for now. So our lot rent is $527 a month, so that's what we're going to budget. And I'm actually going to go ahead and write the due dates in, because why not? I never really do that, but why not? So the due date for this is 6/1. Next up, we have our cable bill. So we have cable and high-speed internet. We don't really watch the cable, but our mobile home community offered a deal with our local cable company where we could get high-speed internet plus cable TV for less than what we were paying for just high-speed internet. So of course we jumped on that deal. For that I'm going to budget $65, and that is due 6/1 as well. And we also have our water bill that is due this week on the 1st. All of these things get paid as like one lump sum, but I like to break them down individually. That way I can keep track of the individual cost month to month. So for our water bill, we always budget $50. I happen to know for a fact, just because I've already paid this, that it actually came in less than that, but I'm just kind of writing in the numbers that I wrote here on my rough draft. So it's a little bit different than usual. Typically, I write out my budget and film everything before I start paying the bills. This month just so happens I've already paid them. So you guys will see when I do my budget results video for this week exactly how much came out, if I was under budget or over budget, that sort of thing. Okay, so that takes care of all of the actual bills that are due, but also under this bills category, I write in anything else that we're budgeting for that's going to get paid through my checking account. So all of these bills will be paid through my checking account, but we also have some expenses that we pay through our checking account. I do a lot of my budgeting in cash, and you will see that when I move on to my cash envelopes and my sinking funds, but there's just some things you can't do in cash, or it's not convenient to do in cash, and so those things get listed under bills as well. That's just how I do it. So the first thing is going to be my spending money. This is something I typically take in cash. However, a couple of weeks ago, I made a big purchase using a credit card, and I have been taking my spending money every week and paying it towards that credit card. That's kind of backwards, I guess, logic in terms of our goal of paying down debt. We do keep all of our credit cards after we pay them off because, as I mentioned, we want to buy a house someday, so we're trying to keep our credit score up. And so I often will utilize these credit cards for things like a big purchase and then pay it off in chunks. We reap really great credit card rewards for that, and we always pay off the balance every month before the interest kicks in. So while we do have some credit cards that we carry a balance on, and those are the cards we are actively trying to pay off. We also have some credit cards that we use and pay off every month. We are responsible enough to do that. I don't recommend that if you are someone who is an emotional spender or who just will spend more than what you have. But for us, we're able to maintain it. We have a couple of credit cards that we use on a regular basis. For one, I have one that I have been putting all of my grocery transactions on and then paying it off. I have a separate card for other transactions that I make every month. And we just, like I said, make it an effort to pay it off every single month so we don't carry a balance. And that is what happened here. I used the credit card to make a purchase, and now I'm just paying it off before the interest kicks in. So that is going to be $40. That was a very long story. My apologies. And we'll just go ahead and have 6/1 be the date for that. This is something that I'm paying every single week. My $40 that I typically would take for spending money, I just pay right to that card. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so next up we have gas. I've been taking our gas money in cash for a really long time, but these last couple of weeks I've just left the money in the account and swiped my debit card for that transaction, and it's so much easier just to pay at the pump instead of going in and paying cash. So we're going to put gas here under this bills section, and we'll just have 6/1 be the date for that as well. And I always budget $40 for gas. Gas prices have gone up significantly, so I may have to raise this budget in the future, but for now, $40 is still working out okay for us. We're not doing a ton of driving. It's essentially just me going back and forth to my son's school and going to pick up groceries and stuff. So right now, $40 is sufficient, but I anticipate with summer, going back and forth to our camper, doing different summer activities and stuff, that this is something that's going to have to go up in the future. But for now, 40 will suffice. And the last thing here under this bill section is our groceries. So I mentioned that I have a credit card that I use for our grocery transactions. I use the Walmart pickup service primarily for our groceries, so it just makes sense to use a credit card and then just pay that credit card off. This past week, what I actually decided to try was doing a big bulk shop where I spent almost or over $400 on groceries, and I'm not going to pay $400 for groceries out of this paycheck. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did with the card that I used for my purchases. I put that whole lump sum on the credit card. I'm going to pay it off little bits at a time every week until that balance is down to zero, and then I will shop again for groceries. Hopefully that makes sense. Going into stores less frequently really helps me to save on my grocery budget. Making fewer grocery orders just helps prevent like impulse purchases and things. So that was kind of my experiment for June. I apologize if this is confusing, but I just kind of wanted to explain that because I know you guys just saw a $420 grocery haul. So when I write down that my budget for groceries for the week is $150, you might be confused. Well, that $150 I'm going to pay right to that card that I used for the groceries, and after a couple of weeks that balance will get paid off and then I can shop again. Hopefully that makes sense. It makes sense to me. That's what really matters. I've just been doing some what I will call creative budgeting recently. So let's go ahead and pull in my trusty calculator here and go ahead and add everything up. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Hopefully you can. So we have 527 plus 65 plus 50 plus 40 plus 40 plus 150 is 872. So our bill total for the week, or rather what I am going to leave in my checking account to cover all of these transactions, is $872. I'm also going to leave more than that, but for this category it's $872. We're also going to leave money in the bank for our extra debt payment, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But for now, let's talk about the next category here, which is our cash envelopes. This is going to be all of the cash I am going to pull out of the bank in order to spend this week. We do our cash envelopes as well as our sinking funds in cash. Sinking funds, though, is money that we save for a later date. This cash is going to be spent this week, most likely. So my cash categories are as follows. I have my husband's spending money. He gets $40 a week, just like me, only I'm going to pull his out in cash and give it to him. He can use this cash to spend on whatever he wants. He doesn't have to keep his receipts. He doesn't have to answer to me in terms of what he spent. It's just $40 in his pocket to do with as he pleases. If he has money left over at the end of the week, he just rolls it over into the following week. So this is always $40 for him. Next up, I have my son, Austin, who is my 13-year-old. We give him $20 a week in allowance for doing extra chores and stuff around the house. My oldest son, as I mentioned, is 18. That's why he doesn't get an allowance. He works full-time and makes his own money. Austin doesn't have that same ability, so we like to, you know, give him some spending money to do with whatever he wants, and he just earns that by doing extra chores. Okay, next up I have my lawn care. We pay a company to cut our grass. I got a question as to why I don't just cut my own grass. I could, but this is typically something that my husband or my sons would do, and they're just busy. And so it's worth it to us to, you know, pay the $20 a week. Sometimes it's $20 every 2 weeks, just depends on how much it rains and how often it needs it. It's worth it to us to pay that. Saves us time, and it also helps support a local small business who does lawn care. So I think it's a win-win. Next up, we have eating out. For eating out this week, we are going to budget $40. It's enough for my family to have a pizza night one week or, you know, go through a takeout line, that sort of thing. Just helps clear up an evening where I don't have to cook, which is always a good thing. And lastly, for our cash envelopes this week, I have miscellaneous. For that, I'm just going to budget $20. It's an emergency 20 essentially in my wallet for anything else that comes up that I did not think to budget for. So that's it for the cash envelopes. Let's add this up. We have 40 plus 20 plus 20 plus 40 plus 20, and that's $140 total for our expenses for the week. All right. Now we're going to move on to sinking funds. So as I mentioned, sinking funds, I like to pull out in cash. That's just how I do it. I'm going to sneeze. False alarm, it went away. Okay. So these are essentially little mini savings accounts. Things that I know are coming up, I like to save little bits of cash here and there for, so that when those larger expenses come up, I have the money for them. I always use Christmas as my example for sinking funds. It's something I know is coming. It's a large expense in December. Rather than wait until December and then scramble to try to find the money to buy Christmas gifts, or worse, to swipe a credit card to buy our Christmas gifts, we just set aside a little bit of money throughout the year. We hardly miss it, you know, $20 here, $50 there. But then at the end of the year, it's all built up and we can buy Christmas presents without it being an issue. We have over a dozen sinking funds, but we don't add money to every single sinking fund every single week. It just depends what our goals are for that week, how much money my husband earned that week. He is paid based on commission, so his paychecks fluctuate quite a bit. So we just kind of pick and choose the sinking funds we're going to add money to based on those factors. We're adding quite a bit of money to quite a few sinking funds this week, so let's just get it written down. This video is getting long. So the first fund we're going to add money to is our campground fund. We have an annual fee for a campsite that we keep our camper on all year round. It's about $1,400 that we pay in October, and so we just put aside little bits of money here and there so that we have it. this week we're going to budget $50 for that. Next up is Christmas, that example I gave for you guys, and our Christmas fund this week we are going to add $25 to. I have car maintenance. Car maintenance is something that it's really important to save for, you guys. If you have a vehicle, you are inevitably going to have car maintenance expenses, whether it's something as simple as your oil change every 3 months, or, you know, windshield wiper blades, that sort of thing, or, you know, maybe you have a breakdown and you need to pay a bunch of money to have an alternator fixed, or whatever it is. It's really important. Car maintenance can really, really come as a shock to your budget if you're not prepared for it. So we're going to add $20 to our car maintenance fund this week. Not a whole lot. We'll hardly miss that $20, but it builds up and we'll be glad we have it in our car maintenance fund should we ever need to fix our vehicle. Next up, I have my husband's sinking fund. He has some tools and equipment that he wants to purchase for his line of work. And so we've been putting aside little bits of money here and there so that he can make those purchases. That's going to get $50 this week. Next up, I have my home insurance. As I mentioned, we live in a mobile home and we pay our insurance annually. It's not a super large expense. We just got the bill. It's due in July and it's $750. And we have $700 saved up so far, so we need to add another $50 to that fund in order to have it fully funded. Actually, it's $51. I think the bill came in at $750.99 or something. So we're going to add the last $51 that we need for that so we can pay that bill. Next up, we have household. So separate from our typical like weekly grocery shopping, we also have household items that we need to purchase. You know, typical toilet paper, paper towels, shampoo, that sort of thing. Those expenses aren't super regular, right? Like you don't need to buy shampoo every single week. So what we do is we just have our household items as a sinking fund. We put a little bit of money aside here and there so that when we run out of those household items, we have that money set aside in order to purchase them. And our household budget's going to get $20 this week. Next up, we have pets. So this sinking fund covers expenses for our 2 cats, cat litter, cat food, vet visits, that sort of thing. And that fund is going to get $20. And lastly, we are going to add money to our vacation fund. My husband has a week of vacation time coming at the end of June. And so we want to put a little bit of money aside so that we can spend the week at our campground. You know, there's various expenses that come with that, so we're going to add $50 to that fund. That's it for our sinking funds this week, so I'm just going to add them up. 50 plus 25 plus 20 plus 50 plus 51 plus 20 plus 20 plus 50 is $286 in sinking funds this week. Next up, we have our extra debt category. That is the other kind of amount of money we're going to leave in our checking account to make a payment. The credit card we are currently working on is a Walmart card. The way that we handle our credit card debt is we pay all of our minimum payments to our cards every month, as we should, to stay on top of them. That typically would go under this bills section. We don't happen to have any minimum payments due this week. That's why I didn't write any in, but if there was one due, that's where it would go. So we pay all of our minimum payments, and then we target just one credit card at a time with extra debt payments. We are currently doing a debt snowball of $150 a week. I recently had to lower the amount of money we were paying in our debt snowball. I talked all about that in my most recent debt update, which I will link in a card above if you missed it. We were paying more than this a week, but I was struggling to make those payments because my husband recently took a little tiny bit of a pay cut, and in order to kind of better balance our budget, I decided to lower our debt snowball payments a little bit. It means that we will not pay off our credit card looked at quite as quickly as we would have if we had stuck to our original plan, but it just gives us a little bit of breathing room in our budget, makes it a lot easier to keep up with our extra debt payments as well as our sinking funds and everything. We don't have to neglect any other areas of our budget to make these payments. So that's the plan for the week. I'm going to send an extra $150 to the card we're currently working on, which is a Walmart card. The very last section of my budget book here is the extra savings. We are not currently focusing on savings. This is something that we will do once our credit cards are all paid off. We'll start saving for a down payment on a house, as well as just like bulking up our emergency fund. For now, the only thing that gets written under here, under this extra savings category, is our rollover amount. Because my husband is paid based on commission and his paychecks fluctuate so much, we like to hold back a little bit of money from our paycheck to roll over into the next week, just in case the next week my husband has a smaller paycheck. We want to make sure that we can always cover all of our bills and buy our groceries and things, so we roll money over week to week to make sure that we can do that. I don't write that amount in here, the rollover amount, since I don't disclose my husband's income, and because we do a zero-based budget. If I wrote in this rollover amount, you'd easily be able to just add all of these categories together and figure out how much income we were working with that week, and that kind of defeats the purpose of not disclosing the income. So I leave this blank and I will just fill this in on my own time once I'm done filming, just for the sake of privacy. I hope y'all understand that. I'm sure you do. So that is it, you guys. That's the plan for the first week in June. I'm pretty hopeful that it's all gonna go as expected. Hopefully we don't have any unexpected expenses. We can stick to all of these budgeted amounts. Next week when I sit down, before I kind of write out my week 2 budget, I always go back and look at the previous week, write in the actual amounts so I can share, you know, with you guys how I did, where I came in under budget, where I came in over budget. So be sure to be on the lookout for that video early next week. You can click that subscribe button and the little notification bell to get notified every time I upload a video. I post new budgeting and lifestyle content here on my channel every single week, so I would really love it if you would come back. I really love sharing these videos with you guys, so thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!